Christine Dunn was born on December the 14th, 1888, and would grow up to marry an ex-convict by the name of Walter Collins, a man who used a fake identity to hide his true name, and who hid his past from his new wife. In September 1918, when Christine was now 30 years old, she gave birth to their son, Walter Jr. 9.5 years later, and Christine gave her son Walter some money to go to the cinema. But after that day, on March the 10th, 1928, her son was never seen again. Sightings flooded across the state, from San Francisco to Oakland to Glendale. One person at a gas station claimed to have seen him in the backseat of a car wrapped in newspaper from the neck down, but nothing ever came of this report. Walter Collins' disappearance made national news, with the Los Angeles Police Department following up on hundreds of leads, but for 5 months had absolutely no luck. For 5 months, Christine and the police force searched the country for her missing 9-year-old son, before seemingly finding some hope. In October, a young boy came forward in DeKalb, Illinois, claiming to be Walter Collins. He detailed his story of being abducted from his home, which explained why he seemed to have slightly changed in appearance. He exchanged phone calls and letters with Christine before he was taken to Los Angeles to meet with her in person, but she took one look at the boy and said,
"I do not think that is my son."
Despite this, the police force insisted she take him home anyway to try him out. For 3 weeks, Christine lived with the boy who was claiming to be her son, but she knew that something wasn't right.
"Yes, he looks like Walter, and in some ways he acts like my son, but still, I'm not certain about it. You see, Walter was quiet and well behaved. He always called me mother. This child calls me ma, and at times he's hard to handle. I certainly hope he's my son, but somehow I can't bring myself to believe it."
The police force were under a lot of pressure for not being able to solve several recent crimes, which tarnished their reputation. They were determined to simply close the case and prove that they had found the missing child. He was dropped off in town, and he was able to find his own way back home by memory, and the family dog actually recognized him as being Walter as well. But a handwriting expert analysed the boy and also concluded that it wasn't Walter. After 3 weeks, Christine returned to the police force to again claim that this was not her child. She had dental records and several close friends and family members who all adamantly confirmed that it was a different child. But despite all of this, Police Captain J.J. Jones maintained his claim, accusing her of being a terrible mother, simply trying to bring the police force a bad reputation. So much so that Christine was sent to a psychiatric ward at the LA County Hospital. What are you trying to do? Make fools out of us all? Or are you trying to shirk your duty as a mother and have the state provide for your son? You are the most cruel-hearted woman I've ever known. She spent 5 days in this ward before the boy came out to admit that he wasn't Walter Collins. He initially claimed that he was actually Billy Fields, but this was also a lie. He was actually 12-year-old runaway juvenile from Iowa, Arthur Hutchins Jr. In regards to Christine's heartbreak, he claimed, "She was nice to me, and it's fun to be somebody you aren't." He claimed that he was spotted in a restaurant and told by a stranger that he resembled the missing boy, and he initially denied being him, but later decided to take on the role so he could go to Hollywood and meet his favourite actor. He used all the information that Christine had sent him, as well as hearing details about the case from the police, to pull off the convincing ruse. Arthur's biological mother had died years earlier, and he was forced to live with his stepmother, who he really despised. He ran away from home and lived on the road to get away from her, and only concocted the Walter impersonation to find a place to stay. At this point, Christine was released from the psychiatric ward and sued J.J. Jones, who was told to pay her $10,800 compensation, which he never ended up following through with. A year after Walter Collins was last seen, Gordon Stewart Northcott was found guilty of abducting, molesting and murdering 3 young boys in what is now known as the Wineville Chicken Coop Murders. Gordon was born in Canada on November 9, 1906, but relocated to Los Angeles in 1924 when he was just 17. 2 years on, and his father purchased a plot of land in Wineville, building a chicken ranch and a house, along with Gordon's 11-year-old nephew Sanford Clark. However, during this time, Gordon began sexually abusing his own nephew. In August 1928, Sanford's 19-year-old sister visited the ranch to ensure her brother was okay. Sanford advised her that he was scared for his life. One night, while Gordon was asleep, Sanford confided in his sister that his abuser had murdered 4 boys on the ranch. These boys consisted of an unknown Mexican child who had been decapitated and 2 brothers, Lewis and Nelson Winslow, aged 12 and 10 respectively. The brothers were on their way home from a yacht club meeting when Gordon Northcott abducted them. Sanford's sister immediately reported this to the police, but it was actually Immigration Service inspectors Judson F. Shaw and George W. Scallon who visited the ranch to investigate. However, Northcott saw the men pull up and quickly fled the scene into the woods, asking Sanford Clark to stall them or else he would kill him. For 2 hours, Sanford did his best to stall the inspectors while Northcott was on the run, before Clark finally gave in and informed them that he had escaped. Gordon and his mother Sarah Louise ran away to Canada together, but were finally apprehended on September 19, 1928. Upon examination, Sanford Clark testified that he and Gordon's own mother helped him murder 4 young boys. He claimed that they were all buried on the ranch. The unknown Mexican may also have been Alvin Garcia. The ranch was searched and the remains were found at the exact area Sanford had disclosed. These weren't complete skeletons, only parts, though Sanford testified that Gordon and his mother dug them up on August the 4th weeks earlier and probably burned elsewhere. 51 human parts were discovered, mostly bones and blood. Gordon's mother Sarah not only confessed to helping him in the crimes, but she also admitted that Walter Collins was another one of their victims, though she later retracted this confession. Gordon was charged only for the assault and murder of 3 boys, excluding Walter Collins. Sarah was sentenced to life, sparing her the death penalty because of her gender. And on February the 13th, 1929, Gordon was found guilty and sentenced to death. Sarah tried her best to save her son, claiming that he was the product of incest, that he was sexually abused by his family, resulting in his warped mind, even begging to be executed if he were to face the same fate. Sarah was paroled in 1940, but passed away 4 years later. Gordon Northcott admitted to murdering more than 4 boys, but initially denied killing Walter Collins. But Sanford Clark always corroborated Sarah's claims that Walter was one of the victims, and admitted that he was coerced into taking part as well. During this confession, Christine still had hope that her son was alive and desperately wanted to meet with Gordon to find out more. He then admitted that he lied when he said he was innocent and offered to tell her the entire truth if she met with him in person. But as soon as she did, he denied everything and professed his complete innocence. Although Christine believed that one of the known victims did resemble Walter, which may have caused some confusion. She was outraged by his response, but also somewhat comforted, believing it was an indication that he was still alive out there, as he refused to give specific details like clothing or eye colour. She believed this was to deter eyewitness accounts spotting him somewhere else. Christine believed Gordon Northcott was just insane, though Gordon did admit he doesn't know if he ever met Walter Collins, let alone abducted him. Upon investigation, there was absolutely no evidence of Walter ever being at the ranch. There was no body recovered, no belongings found, and no physical DNA left behind. Sarah claimed that the boy was assaulted and tortured for days, being forced to sleep in a chicken coop before finally ending his misery. Gordon Northcott was hanged on October 2nd, 1930 at the age of 23, taking any secrets to his final resting place. In 1935, 5 years after Gordon Northcott was executed, a young boy and his parents came forward to claim that this child had gone missing 7 years earlier, and this was reported to the authorities. At the time, he was believed to have been a victim at the Wineville ranch. This is particularly strange, as Sanford Clark never reported that anyone had escaped from the chicken coop before, and only ever claimed that 4 boys were taken there. But if this were true, there is a possibility that Walter Collins was taken to the ranch, but somehow survived. Arthur Hutchins Jr. ended up passing away in 1954, 24 years after pretending to be the missing child. Sanford Clark was never charged for his involvement, though he was sent to reform schools before passing away in 1991 at the age of 78. Another theory is that possible enemies of Walter Sr. may have been responsible. He was convicted of 8 armed robberies and was in and out of jail constantly. It's possible that some criminals may have made an enemy out of him and may have harmed his son out of revenge. Christine Collins spent the rest of her life searching for her son, vanishing from the public eye to do so, refusing to ever give up hope that he was out there somewhere. But she sadly passed away in 1964 at the age of 75, without ever finding out the truth. What happened to Walter Collins? Was he abducted and killed by Gordon Northcott, or was this someone else entirely? This mystery plagued a grieving mother for decades, and she never found out the truth. But the rest of the world to this day remain seeking answers.